All right, Borderlands, the new Eli Roth film. The only movie I've ever seen made by Eli Roth, actually. The Bear Jew from Inglourious Basterds.
Yeah, that's right. The mayor from The Dark Knight.
Is he?
Yeah.
Did not know that. Interesting.
I had a student once named Eli Roth.
Oh.
Then he saw this movie and he changed his name. Just kidding.
Yeah, Eli Roth, he has his fans. He does a lot of like horror, kind of gratuitous gore stuff. I've never seen any of it, but this kind of seems like his first really big studio movie.
Okay. First off, I've never played Borderlands. You've played Borderlands 2?
I've played some of Borderlands 2, but I've seen a lot of that, the pre-sequel, and even the first one, because my dad and brother used to play them all the time. So I do.
Do your dad and brother have any intentions of seeing this movie?
My brother only would if like his friends want to see it on like a really bad movie night, because they sometimes like doing that. But no, I don't think my dad does.
Not even like a morbid curiosity of
maybe if it's like
seeing
free on
like
streaming in like 6 months, but no, I don't think he'll go to the theater for it.
This movie is so perplexing to me. As someone who doesn't know really anything about the franchise, other than it's like a looter shooter, right?
Yeah, and it was like the first one that
you have
did
this
that.
cell shaded art style that's very unique.
Yeah.
This movie feels like it's a movie aimed at 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
That was originally rated R, which apparently it was going to be R-rated.
Yeah,
is what I've heard. But also, it's even though it is R-rated, it seems like everything in the movie is geared toward a 12-year-old
so
audience.
Much of the humor is very juvenile, which there's some of that in the Borderlands games, but yeah, no, the movie simultaneously feels like it's cut down from an R rating. Because as I mentioned to you after the movie, they're like constantly swearing in this, but they're just not.
It's like
saying the
mofos,
F
like
word.
hey mofos.
Well, or like even saying like saying a little shit kind of thing going on in there.
What does that mean?
I don't
can't
know.
spell.
I can't. Jimmy bleeps me out if I say it.
Yeah, that's right.
But no, it's they say a bunch of that kind of stuff, which isn't out of place in a PG-13 movie, but it feels like they say it often enough that it was just supposed to be an R rating. That you just cut out some F words in there or something.
Yeah, the confusing thing to me is like, okay, it feels like a Transformers movie in the fact that it like Michael Bay made it for 12-year-old boys. This movie feels like it's made for 12-year-old boys. But the people in it are like 50, 60 years old.
Yes.
Like
the casting is
Kate
so
Blanchett,
weird.
What are you doing here?
No. I feel like pretty much everyone in this movie is like miscast or either miscast or underutilized. Or both. Like
they have nothing to work with either. But like she is like, what is Kate Blanchett doing in a Borderlands movie? What is Kevin Hart doing here? Well, in like a more serious role?
Yeah. Well, so I was thinking about that earlier today because like I'm like, okay, Kevin Hart, he's playing like weirdly the most serious character, one of the more serious characters in this movie, which, I don't want to, just shove him into only doing comedic roles for the rest of his life or whatever. Like he can try doing other stuff, but this is also like a movie that's like geared towards comedy primarily. So why is
like
he
if you're going to do something more serious, you probably want to do it in a more serious movie, right? Like
this.
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Yeah. Something like that. But
no, like Jim Carrey playing it.
Chris Rock in Spiral.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. Apt comparison.
But yeah, no, it's he doesn't work in this movie really at all.
No, and I don't think anybody's like acting is bad outside of Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis
I think
is pretty bad. Well, and I mentioned,
maybe she's just direct, like was pushed to act that way. But I'm like, she was like not like her character. I thought was horrible.
Her character. It feels like she's playing the character on like the autism spectrum in some regard. And I'm no expert on that or anything, but that's the way it seems like she's playing it. So it feels like that would just be like offensive to people. Like it feels kind of like an offensive portrayal in that regard.
I didn't necessarily interpret it that way.
Sure.
But again, I wasn't sitting there analyzing the nuances of the character performances.
Well, and also
I didn't feel like there really were any.
The entire like reason for her being there is just dumping exposition. That's all she does. Like she does nothing else this entire movie other than say stupid exposition lines.
This movie, the opening 2 minutes or so, is one of the clunkiest exposition dumps of any movie I've ever seen in my life.
Dune 80s movie.
Yeah. Oh, man. Dune 1984, when Princess Irulan, like, literally is, it's like the opening Star Wars crawl, and she's like, Arrakis is this, and then fades away, and then fades back.
Oh, wait, I forgot.
I almost forgot to mention this other. Okay, maybe Dune 1984.
But at least that was like funny. It was like funny because that happened. This is just very clunky.
This is like, let me give you generic, really clunky, all over the place exposition, and then at the end kind of play it off as a joke, as like, well, I didn't even take any of that crap seriously until this happened or whatever. And it's Kate Blanchett narrating this.
She literally ends it with like, what a load of crap or something like that. It's so lame.
Until I met this girl. The girl from Barbie. I spent the whole movie like, what do I know this girl from?
And she's young Ahsoka and young Gamora.
Yeah. Too. Okay. Young aliens and
also,
girl from Barbie.
We didn't watch it, but she's the girl in 65. Apparently. Okay. So she's
so disappointed to hear that was a bad movie.
Yeah.
So much potential.
Before I should mention, because I had talked to you about this. So Craig Mazin, writer of Chernobyl, The Last of Us show, and superhero movie is incredible. Then we got to watch it together. I should watch it. Yeah, we need to watch it at some point. But anyway, he's been hitting it out of the park with some of his most recent work.
Also, author, writer of a lot of bad stuff earlier on in his career.
Yeah,
save for a superhero movie, a classic.
Mm-hmm. He directed that too, right?
I don't know, but it's phenomenal. It is a masterpiece.
Regardless,
it's his best work, if you ask me.
He was signed on. He wrote the script for this movie, and from what I understand, like Kate Blanchett and a lot of the bigger names that are attached to this, like signed on with that script in mind. But then
apparently, like Lee Winnell,
Lee Winnell was
a writer of Saw and Upgrade.
Did the Invisible Man
remake? Yeah,
he was attached to this for a bit.
Yeah, before Craig Mazin, and then Craig Mazin was on.
He came on, wrote a script. Apparently, Eli Roth came on, kind of rewrote and butchered the script a bit, and to the point where Craig Mazin took his name off, except. There's a name attached to this movie in the writer as a co-writer to Eli Roth named Joe Crombie, who is a person that doesn't seem to exist, but according to Craig Mazin, is not a pseudonym for himself. It feels like it's just a pseudonym.
Could be a pseudonym for someone else.
Yeah, which is very true.
It's a bad sign when Craig Mazin comes out and like, before the movie comes out, he's like, I did not have anything to do with this. I am not credited with anything. I don't deserve credit for anything with this movie before it comes out, good or bad, definitely bad. But do not attach me to this. I'm just making The Last of Us season 2. Everybody's gonna hate it when it comes out. Can't wait. But what a strange movie. Just talk about like just not understanding your audience at all. Very weird in terms of the casting, like we said, and you have talented people here who I don't think are necessarily even like bad. I just think they're, like you said, miscast or just have zero to work with.
Which is so. Another thing about this production, that this movie has been filmed for like years. This movie was made, like filmed and everything before Tar was filmed. Kate Blanchett, obviously. So
Kate Blanchett's character looks like someone in the audience at the end of Tar.
Well, okay, that's something, a little off topic from where we were. But
if you happen to have seen Tar and Borderlands, that will make sense overlap. To you. That's a huge Venn diagram of people.
No, but the costumes in this look like cosplay costumes. Yes. They look like they tried so hard to make them accurate to the games, but they just look constantly very fake. And they come up with this really lame reason for why they're like clean all the time, but there's like never any like.
You're talking about the laser.
Yeah, the
thing.
Weird like the laser shower.
Well,
thing,
you guys want to use this too?
Yeah.
And no, we want to just sit in all this urine and dirt or whatever it is.
Whatever it is. So the costumes just look constantly too clean. And just like they ripped them straight from the games without thinking of how they would actually look in live action. Yeah. And it's very Kate Blanchett's hair. Why is it? It's just in one position the entire movie.
I tell you what,
so dumb.
Whoever provided the hairspray, incredible. That stuff
so
works.
So much hairspray.
There is a hole in the ozone layer
because of this movie. My God.
Goodness gracious. This movie kind of reminds me of that Monster Hunter movie that came out, except that Monster Hunter movie was somehow better.
Yeah, probably.
But another just like strange thing. That was Paul W.S. Anderson or whatever.
At the very least, with how bad that movie is, you can at least say it has his director's mark on it. It definitely feels like a Paul W.S. Anderson movie. And they're like adapting essentially something that there's like very little story to work with. Mm-hmm. So, but in this, like Borderlands has like a deep lore, has some stories that people quite like to it. And they just kind of crunched a bunch of stuff together from what I can tell in this movie, like some of the stuff from the first game, some of the stuff from the second game, and it just doesn't really work like at all. It's very generic. Everyone's making the comparison to Guardians of the Galaxy, but it's very apt.
I kind of wrote down every movie that this felt like, and other piece of media. I have Mad Max, because just aesthetically, Bad Max. This movie
I think the games themselves feel inspired by Mad Max to an extent, so I think that makes sense. But
I have Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes because they're trying to get into some vault that will have some special technology that will help them rule the universe or whatever. Sure. I got Horizon Forbidden West because the villain just has the exact same shield and weaponry.
Yeah.
I'm like, did this guy is he one of the people in Horizon Forbidden West, the Zeniths or whatever they call them? I
didn't even think about that, but you're right. Yeah.
So I mean, we're really catering to that. Those people who have seen Tar, Borderlands, and played Horizon Forbidden West. We are just right in that pocket right now. Transformers because it's made for 11-year-old boys.
And I also
and then I had Guardians of the Galaxy.
You mentioned Transformers, same composer apparently.
No, I saw that in the trailer because I was thinking this movie just is like Transformers, only obviously way worse, and it feels like it's written because of its audience. And then I saw that it was like Steve Jablonsky or whatever. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's even the composer.
Yeah, and the music in this is I don't remember a single thing. Incredibly forgettable.
It's not no.
Yeah, that first Transformers movie was a good score to it.
Great score.
Yeah,
very underrated score. So look, I know this is a spoiler review, but in the off chance people have not seen this and they're following along, there's this vault that everybody wants to get into because apparently there was some kind of Atlantean-esque
ancient race,
ancient people who had lots of knowledge and stuff that they want to,
like Iridians or something.
The daughter of Iridia can open it or whatever.
Yeah,
the prophecy.
And in the games, there's like a currency that's iridium, which is like a purple. Yeah, so I think it's Iridians.
So they have this vault, and everybody wants to get in this vault on this planet Pandora so they can access this knowledge. Mm-hmm. Like Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Yes.
So like this whole planet Pandora apparently went way downhill after Avatar 2, Way of Water.
Wow.
Just desert, wasteland. It's like, oh, you're here to look for the vault. You're a vault hunter. And she's like, no, I don't want anything to do with the vault, although I'm definitely going to have to do something with the vault.
Yeah.
The desert wasteland, everybody's looking for the vault here. Nobody can find it. And for some reason, you need 3 keys to open the vault. And 2 of them are like cones. And then one of them's a person.
It's just a person.
And it's the daughter of Iridian because there's a prophecy. Mm-hmm. And then when the person opens the door, like they're going to die or something probably. And then the vault will be opened and you'll have access to this knowledge. Mm-hmm. So the villain of this movie, a guy named Atlas,
who is apparently just a made-up character for this movie,
has the charisma of a sheet of paper and the depth of a sheet of paper as well.
I think so. Borderlands 2 has a very famous video game villain in it named Handsome Jack, who I honestly just expected they were going to adapt because he's similar. He's the ruler of this corporation, but
they couldn't find anybody good looking enough.
Yeah, I guess. But he has this like very unhinged and very funny, abrasive personality that makes him stand out to a lot of other villains. And even the other villains, from what I understand, that have more of a mixed reception in the games, they have more personality. And instead, they just decided Atlas is a corporation in the games. I think it's one of the gun manufacturers. So they just decided to take that and be like, all right, there's a guy who runs this. And here he is.
He's evil.
He's a bad guy.
He's going to project his face on his henchmen. So when they get shot, he'll just change his face to a different henchman.
Yeah. Whoa.
Nice.
Well, speaking of that scene, there's like 2 or 3 different like incredible just tropes that they do unironically, like the villain's slow clap, which you laughed at. You were which I kind of chuckled at too. The villain just starts slow clapping from the shadows.
I don't understand how mechanically any of this works, because there are literally moments of this where he's telling the one henchman like step forward. He literally like says like step forward because his face is being projected like a screen hologram over the other guy's face, and presumably the other person is still controlling the body, but it's so in sync with everything he says that it doesn't feel like. But you're like, okay, weird. Maybe he's controlling the body. But then there's moments during the movie, during that scene, where he's like, okay, like step forward, like he's like waiting for them to do something, or he tells them what to do, and then they do it. So like, well, how are they so in sync with like doing exactly what they want to do?
They have to be really good at improvising movements.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I guess
something like that.
Very weird inconsistency that I'm like, that does not make any sense.
Another great, just cliche line from that scene is when Cate Blanchett literally says, "I'm too old for this." Great.
I'm getting too old for this.
Yeah, good stuff.
I should go into I should be a musical director.
Yes.
Just funny stuff.
Yeah,
funny stuff.
Very good. There's the whole thing. So Tiny Tina is a character in this, played by, as you said, the girl from Barbie. And for most of this movie, we think she's the daughter of Iridia. She's the key to opening the vault. Yeah. So the movie opens
up. And so does everybody in the movie.
Yeah. The movie opens with Roland breaking her out.
Yeah.
And they also just break out a psycho for some reason.
On accident?
But
then he just joins them for no reason.
Okay.
And the psycho is like comic book Bane mixed with Drax, but is even dumber.
Yeah, he like fills the role of Drax in terms of being the muscle on the team, but has literally no character.
No personality.
Nothing. He occasionally says something
He's like
unfunny. Yeah, just says something like very like Meathead-esque, I guess. That's all there is.
I don't even remember him saying anything. He talks?
He does say a few things.
Okay, I don't even remember that.
His name's Krieg. So it's weird because he's like, so not only is he from the second game, one of the playable characters from the second game, he's like a DLC character. So he's like not even like one of the main playable characters. It's a weird pick to put him in this movie, I guess. Tiny Teen is also from the second game, not the first one. I think Lilith and Roland are both in the first game, but yeah.
That's funny. Tiny Tina doesn't work in this movie. I don't think it's the actress's fault.
I think she's fine, like with what she's given, but yeah.
It's just again, it feels like a very cringeworthy. It's like she's doing like Fortnite emotes and like throwing grenades. I'm like, I don't want to see this.
Like, whoa, epic. She's dropping bombs, but they're bunnies.
Oh, look, guys, say hello to Mr. Bunny or whatever. I don't know.
Whatever.
One bit that I thought was kind of funny was when Kevin Hart's character Roland was like nodded the head of the bunny, like, "Oh, we got to do this." Or I don't even know what he says, but he just like nods it. He's like, "All right, here we go." It's like, okay.
Jumping around a bit, but the scene where Lilith first runs into Tina at the junkyard, wherever she's living right then, probably the worst like CG in the movie is her throwing the bunnies off the top of that junk heap. It looks like it doesn't even look like she's throwing anything. It's like she's on a CG backdrop, and it looks like, I think she just wasn't directed properly, but the bunnies are completely CG, and she's just like lightly tossing them, but they're being like thrown way harder. Like it looks so bad.
I did not notice that.
Yeah, it was bad.
So, there's another character that I literally forgot about until this moment, and she's like the mercenary character for the villain, who's like hired her army of like hench people that go after the characters so they would have people to fight against. And she has like this complete 180 change of heart right at the end of the
movie.
Hilarious.
And then she just
and
dies.
She gets vaporized.
Yeah, there's no reason for that at all. She has some implied history with Roland, I guess, but that's never explored at all.
Yeah.
Aside from just being mentioned. So there were a few lines in this that I think were pretty funny, and one of them towards the beginning of the movie that I think we'll talk about Claptrap in a second, but it's before Lilith gets to Tina, but she's met Claptrap. She's looking through the binoculars at like this group of psychos, and the mercenary / military group is called like the Crimson Lance, and I think they are from the games. That's what the one lady runs. But when they're like first introduced in this scene, and then she has some line that's like, "Why are the Crimson Lance working with the psychos?" And like us as the audience are like, what are either of these things? we don't know what these are. What are the psychos? What are the Crimson Lance? If you're not familiar with the games, well, there's no setup. What do you mean?
No, hold on. See, that just lends to the rewatchability of this movie.
So
it actually makes it better.
Once you still don't understand,
it's like you get to uncover the extra depth. Of this film.
Yeah, my bad.
Yeah, see. That's why I'm on the podcast.
Yeah. I love your insight.
There we go. Wow. Should we talk about Claptrap?
Yeah.
I mean, a major part of this movie. Horrible. I will. Okay. One of the things I think, ironically, is like technically well done. Like I think the CG and animation is great.
Easily the best effects.
Which is hilarious because like the person who like created the CG model and then rigged it, I guess.
I think it's two. I think there were two people.
Yeah, I think the person who modeled it and then who rigged it for the like so like the arms can move and all that stuff. I mean, there's so many fine points of animation for it, and apparently. Did not get credited for this movie. Literally, like the two people and then all the team of animators who actually did the animation, they did a phenomenal job. With
Claptrap is easily the best looking part of the movie. But
from a technical standpoint,
shame those two people didn't get credited.
Which is one of those things that I do think is a bummer when like people like you get the 9% on Rotten Tomatoes or whatever this is now. It's like. A bad movie, there are people who still do really excellent jobs on elements of bad movies. And I think like a big thing is like Game of Thrones season 8. Universally panned. But so many people on a technical aspect did such a phenomenal job with sets and effects. Ramin Djawadi with the music of that. So it's like a lot of that gets lost. So I do like to highlight some of those things, especially with like the people who did Claptrap. I think they did a nice job. I think Jack Black is doing the best with the material that he has. I don't hate his performance. I do think some of the jokes I would find them funnier if the rest of the movie was good.
Well, so I think one of the things that they try to make work in this movie with Claptrap that I think works better in the games, but just doesn't really have the proper like setup here is like in the games he's like weirdly like there's like animosity, like he kind of wants you to die, and that kind of happens here in the movie. And in the games it's just like funnier because he's like an incompetent buffoon and you're the player of the game, so you're just much better than he is. But in this he's just like weirdly like mean-spirited sometimes, but also sometimes not. It's very inconsistent and it doesn't really make, especially since like he's like you find out that he's sent by Lilith's mom.
Yeah.
But he's also like, "No, I want you to die, Lilith." So it's weird. And I don't. Jack Black's performance is probably its own thing. Whatever, he's fine with what he's given. But the character himself is so annoying. I like maybe my least favorite part of the movie, just in general. I thought like
I think it was overdone. Like there was
he was inundated
with
way
it, like
too much of the movie.
Like they did too many jokes per minute with Claptrap and not enough of a hit rate.
Yeah.
that it just really brought that character down, which should have been a strong point of the movie. I think
there was like one joke you found funny that
there were a couple. There's one part where there's this very long psycho action sequence that just goes on and on.
Oh yeah,
and on. Which I thought the action was okay. I thought the Lilith had some good gunplay kind of things where she was like doing fun things with her guns. But it was fine. It wasn't like the worst action I've ever seen, but it was not anything to write home about. But there's like during an action scene, they start to like turn the upper hand and he's like, there is nothing we can't do. And then he like rolls and then there's like a set of stairs and he can't get upstairs. Like, oh no. I thought that was kind of a funny beat. And then I also thought during like one of the more serious moments of the movie where like, which is hilarious because Jamie Lee Curtis is like, oh, I figured it out. Your mom gave you to me so I would take you far away from here. And so you never return. And then Claptrap in the background's like, yeah, how did that work out for you? Or whatever. I thought that was funny because number one, joke. Jamie Lee Curtis just saying that was hilarious.
She has
just in of itself
so many good lines.
And then then him saying that back to her. That got a legitimate laugh out of me. That was the hardest I laughed, other than the slow clap.
Oh, I did. I told you that my favorite line of Jamie Lee Curtis's was after Lilith activates the vault, and then she looks up at her. It's like, so the legend is true. She is the Firehawk. Or something like it's so dumb.
Yeah.
Like what?
Okay. So the person who opens just turns into the goddess who's like Captain Marvel.
Yeah. Very Captain Marvel-esque. I don't know. She can give people force fields, like little protection shield things. Yeah.
Then she gets lasered.
Well, okay. Related to opening the vault, so they make this big deal, and I think you mentioned it a bit earlier about how like someone could die when they open it.
Yeah.
Jamie Lee Curtis thinks that that Tina is going to die when she opens.
She's
the
willing
vault.
to make that sacrifice.
Well, yeah.
There's some line to there, like they got to make a sacrifice. Yeah, it's like along the lines of like you got to crack a few eggs to make an omelet.
There's the bit in the movie where Lilith ends up like being left behind because Tina mishears whatever. But when Tina and Jamie Lee Curtis are going to the vault, Jamie Lee Curtis says something like, just like straight up says to her, you could die when you do this. And then Tina's just like, yeah, I don't care. Something like that. And then it just never comes back. It's this big, like they're never in any danger of dying from opening this vault.
Yeah.
Like, Tina doesn't die. Lilith doesn't even come close to dying. If anything, she's better because she opened up the vault.
Yeah, she turns into a goddess.
Yeah.
Remember when Lilith finds out she can teleport when she's like literally like 55 years old?
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
That like never figured it out before. They all think it's Tina. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What a film.
Yeah. So inside the vault. So in the game, the vault, I think, I don't remember if there is actually like any sort of power that can be found in the vaults or anything, or if the power is just like big monsters. But like the twist in the first game is that you open the vault and the final boss is this big monster that comes out or whatever. Okay. So, I can't remember if there's anything else in them or anything. And in the first game, it is like a big squid monster. So in this one, they go into the vault and it's just like these floating cubes. There's like nothing there. It looks very empty. And then Atlas has like his gun pointed to Tina, is like, you need to give me the power or else I'm like, what do you mean give you the power? what is she supposed to do? Give me the power or else I'm going to kill Tina. And then the squid monster just kills him, I guess.
Yeah.
All right.
Hilarious. Yeah. My big thing of the movie is, why does Atlas need this stuff in the vault in the first place? Because he's got literally an impenetrable force field that goes around him that a literal goddess like cannot break through.
Yeah.
He's got these ultra laser cannons that vaporize people. He's clearly like this powerful figure.
Very rich.
They don't establish any sort of threat to his power or anything that can match his power within the movie. So it's like, what is the driving force for him to do this? If there was like, oh, there's this other person going after it, I need to get it, and I'm gonna take it.
Have two evil corporations, or even like, I guess like you have
Jack Horner. from Puss in Boots: The Last Wish.
No, you have like you've introduced the Crimson Lance, which I think in the movie are presented as like mercenaries they hire or something. Just have them be like a military group that's going after it as well. So you have like these two rival parties in addition to the main group. They could seize this power for different reasons or something. I don't know. Instead of just having them both work together. It's weird.
Yeah. And then it's more interesting that he like made this girl, like groomed her to die.
Yeah.
Dumbledore, Harry Potter style. You know?
Yeah.
There are like some ideas in here. I'm like, okay, maybe that would have worked in a more interesting movie, but like it's like Atlas. It's just a cardboard cutout of a villain.
Yeah.
All your characters are just lame, uninteresting, unfunny Guardians of the Galaxy in this world that you only really go to one place for the entire movie. There's that city bit, and that was when the movie really ground to a halt to me. Yeah, when they're kind of first
the grungy city.
Yeah, and they're getting like introduced to Jamie Lee Curtis's character and all that. That was when I was like, okay. One thing I did I was like, okay, this movie's not good, but at least it's not super slow. And it's still not super slow. There's a couple moments where it drags, but I wouldn't say it's like ultra boring. I would just say it mostly just doesn't make any sense.
See, for me, I did feel the runtime on this one, which the movie is only like an hour 40 or something like that. I feel like it's pretty short.
Borderlands movie.
Here, I got it right here. Yeah, hour 42. So it's
way off.
Yeah, it's pretty short, but God, I think because to me it feels like it's trimmed down from a longer movie and they just like crammed too much in here. Like, I think maybe that's the reason why it just felt way longer. But
yeah.
Gee whiz. They go to that grummy city. They introduce Moxie, which is a character from the games, but she literally is in this movie for no reason.
Hilarious.
Yeah, just
the more they cut back to her, just unnecessarily. Yeah. I'm like, this is clearly someone I'm supposed to care about from the games, and I just do not.
She's a pretty big character in the games, but yeah, she's just here because she's in the games. They have that one character who's like, there's that whole bit where Lilith goes on the bus with that guy, and he like comes back later, and he's in that like bazaar area where he's like selling like guns and whatever. And she's like, what are you doing here? He's like, oh, I also sell stuff. And then they just don't fulfill the rule of thirds, and he never shows up again. They don't even finish the joke.
Oh yeah, I open unopenable vaults for people.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's just weird because he's like, they have him show up twice. They have him do different processions twice. Like, but like that he just doesn't show up again. I did mention to you that I don't know the actor who played him, but he sounded just like the guy who plays Marcus in the games. So good on that, I guess, at least for the impression. But
remember at the end when they're watching all the fireworks go off,
and they're like, "Yeah, we're a family."
Yeah. And Tiny Tina's like, you should do the light yourself on fire thing. She's like, oh, I don't know. I don't really want to. And like, oh, come on, do it. And then she goes and does it and turns into a huge Firehawk emblem in the sky.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, now she's just showing off.
What do you mean you asked her to do it?
And then, cringy claptrap moments. There's a lot of like what I would call ha-ha, pee-pee, poo-poo humor in this.
There's the bit from the trailer where he's pooping out bullets.
That's great. He's
fantastic.
Like, oh, not with everybody looking, and he just like pull it up his like robot pants to activate the door or something, the elevator thing, something like that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
They go through the urine fields and they just get pee all over them.
Very good pee joke there.
Hilarious.
Oh, wow. It smells just like urine.
So clever.
Very smart.
Don't roll down your window.
Why? I want to roll down the window. Oh, that was so contrived.
Yeah. I just thought, I was like, oh, this is really funny. Good stuff. Hilarious. That's Borderlands, Holden.
Yeah.